The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
What is going on here? Welcome back to the Neural Right. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, and honestly, I'm looking at the news cycle today, and I'm bewildered. It's an action-packed show, to say the least, and we have a lot to get through.
Well, you always look bewildered. It's your default state at this point. But you're right. It's a solid lineup today. We're moving from the literal collapse of infrastructure in D.C. to the absolute war on our borders.
Exactly. And before we dive into the madness, I have to say, welcome to everyone joining us from LinkedIn. We saw the surge in traffic today. It's amazing to see so many of you jumping into the bunker with us as we expand the launch. Seriously, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your fix. And if you really want to see how the sausage is made, join the Patreon.
Get a helmet, people. It's a wild ride. Yesterday, we were talking about CBDCs and the IRS essentially holding tax refunds hostage to force people into digital currency. Plus, that federal judge blocking the mask ban for ICE agents in California.
Right, because heaven forbid an agent protect their identity while doing a job the ruling class hates them for doing, right? Think about it. And speaking of people who hate you, we have to start with the total lack of accountability in the upper echelons of power. Ashley, did you see the latest drop on the Epstein files?
Oh, I saw it, and I'm sorry, but is anyone actually surprised anymore? The Guardian is reporting that 6 more high-profile names have been unredacted from the DOJ files. We're talking about people who were protected for years while the victimhood industrial complex was busy targeting school board moms.
Wait, 6 men? Just unmasked?
Just unmasked. And what's fascinating is the timing. We have Attorney General Pam Bondi at the helm now, and suddenly the unintentional delays in the DOJ are evaporating.
Isn't it funny how that works? You change the person at the top, someone who actually believes in transparency, and the redacted black ink just, starts to fade away.
It's more than that. While these names are coming out, which, let's be real, the ruling class thought would be buried forever, we also saw a major legal rebuke in D.C. yesterday. A federal grand jury actually declined to indict what people are calling the Sedition Six.
These are the Democrats who told the military to ignore orders?
Exactly. Senators Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly, both military vets by the way, plus 4 others. They released that video essentially telling troops to refuse illegal orders from the Trump administration. The DOJ tried to hit them with sedition charges, and the grand jury said no.
Okay, so wait, a grand jury, which, as they say, could indict a ham sandwich, actually said there wasn't enough probable cause? That's almost unheard of in D.C.
It's incredibly rare, but it shows that even in the middle of this high-stakes political combat, there's still a sliver of institutional resistance to overreach. Now look, I think what they did was disgraceful. Encouraging mutiny is a dangerous game, but the legal system held its ground against a sedition label.
It's all theater to them. Breath, while they're playing sedition games in the courts, the literal streets of D.C. are flowing with, let's just say it isn't bottled water. Did you see the Potomac Interceptor report?
The sewage leak?
The sewage leak! 40 million gallons! According to 51st News and the local D.C. water officials, a 72-inch pipe collapsed. They found a rock dam of boulders inside the line. 40 million gallons of raw sewage every day.
Right?
Into the Potomac. They're telling people to keep their pets away from the water because the E. coli levels are literally off the charts. Why are we talking about global warming when the nation's capital can't even keep its own waste out of the river?
Because fixing pipes isn't sexy, Will. It doesn't get you a gala invite. It's easier to moralize about the climate than it is to replace 42,000 lead service lines, which they've barely touched since 2019.
They hate you. They really do. They'll let you drink lead and swim in sewage while they lecture you on your carbon footprint. It's the ultimate rules for thee situation.
Well, at least some people are trying to fix the infrastructure of safety. Senator Jim Banks just launched this truck safe tip line.
I saw that. What's the angle there?
It's a common sense move to stop these chameleon trucking companies. Basically, companies that rack up massive safety violations, shut down, and then reopen under a new name the next day to bypass federal law. Banks is basically saying, if you see an unlawful network or an illegal driver, report them.
Wait, so we're actually going to hold people accountable for following the law on the highways? What a concept.
Excuse me? In 2026? It's a revolutionary idea, but it's necessary because our supply chains are already under assault from every other direction.
They really are. And speaking of under assault, let's look at the global stage for a second. Ashley, this Iran report from the FDD and satellite imagery, it's terrifying.
You mean Pickaxe Mountain?
Yes, near Natanz, they are burying their nuclear facilities between 80 and 100 meters deep. Think about it. Our most powerful bunker buster, the GBU-57, can only penetrate 60 meters.
So they're building a strike-proof nuclear fortress?
Exactly. And they're using unexploded U.S. bombs from the 2025 strikes as a pretext to keep IAEA inspectors out. They're basically saying, oh, it's too dangerous for you to come in and check our uranium because you left some bombs here.
It's so transparently ridiculous. Don't look at our illegal nuclear weapons program. We're worried about your safety.
Right? And while they're hardening their bunkers, their buddies in the BRICS nations are mulling over alternative payment platforms to kill the US dollar. This is a hybrid war, Ashley. It's not just missiles, it's the currency in your pocket.
And that's the reality people need to wake up to. Before we get back to the analysis, let's deal with a hard reality. Real independence isn't free. This entire network, from this show to our flagship The Neural Daily, exists because one man, Eric Christensen, decided to build it himself. He didn't ask for a government grant. He invested his own capital and technical expertise to architect a media platform that respects your intelligence. If you value that kind of meritocratic building, back it up. And don't limit yourself to just the politics. Get the full strategic picture by subscribing to The Neural Daily and the rest of the network. Support the builder, and you support the mission.
Well said, because if you aren't paying attention to the builders, you're going to be crushed by the people who just want to distribute your wealth. Look at what's happening in Minnesota.
Oh, the Somali welfare fraud?
$9 billion, Ashley. $9 billion. Heritage is reporting that the welfare fraud in Minnesota has reached a point where it's essentially a subsidized industry for people who hate this country.
It's the victimhood industrial complex in action. We provide the safety net, and they provide the schemes to empty it. And meanwhile, what is the average American family seeing?
They're seeing $9.25 a pound for beef?
Exactly. Retail sales were flat in December, actually negative if you take out cars and gas. People are tapped out. The USDA is saying cattle inventory is at a 75-year low. A 75-year low. We are importing 5% more beef just to keep burgers on the menu.
Think about it. We are a nation of ranchers and we can't even feed ourselves without importing meat because the ruling class has made it so expensive to exist that the cattle cycle is broken.
It's not just the cost, Will. It's the culture. Look at what happened in Washington State this week.
The wrestling match?
Match is a generous word for it. A teenage girl, her name is Keeler, was allegedly sexually violated during a match against a biological male identifying as a female. This happened in December, but the family just came forward because the school apparently tried to bury it.
Wait, so a biological male competes against a girl and it turns into a physical assault?
And the school fails to report it to the police. That's the allegation. This is what happens when you prioritize gender identity over biological reality and basic safety.
It's sick. It's actually sick. And Trump's keeping men out of women's sports executive order is being fought tooth and nail by states like California. They'd rather let a girl be assaulted in a wrestling ring than admit that men and women are different.
Life is hard. Get a helmet. But apparently the helmet doesn't protect you from the insanity of the Washington State School Board. They are literally sacrificing the safety of daughters on the altar of inclusion.
It's all connected, Ashley. The open borders, the fraudulent elections, the sewage in the streets, it's the managed decline of Western civilization. But people are fighting back. Did you see the Michigan jury pool probe?
James Comer and John James?
Yeah, they're looking into why non-citizens are showing up in Michigan jury pools. In Macomb County alone, 239 non-citizens were found in the jury pool over a 4-month period.
Okay, but how did they get there?
Motor voter! When they get their driver's license, they're automatically registered unless they, quote-unquote, affirmatively decline. And guess what? 14 of those 239 were actually found to be registered to vote. One of them had a history of voting in multiple elections.
And Jocelyn Benson calls these reckless accusations? The data is right there. If you're a non-citizen and you're in a jury pool, you shouldn't be on the voter rolls. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a math problem.
But they don't want to solve the math, Ashley, because the math doesn't favor them. That's why Arizona is trying to put early voting rights directly into their state constitution to bypass the legislature and keep the ballot harvest going forever.
It's a total war on the concept of a citizen. If everyone can vote, no one's vote matters.
Which brings us to the main story of the day, and honestly, this one really gets my blood boiling. The coordinated assault on immigration enforcement.
It's not just a policy disagreement anymore. It is an outright offensive against the people we task with protecting the country.
Did you see the House Homeland Security hearing? Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, a guy who's just trying to do his job, is being called fascist and secret police by Rep. Dan Goldman. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called ICE Trump's modern-day Gestapo. Gestapo!
Excuse me, the Gestapo? We're talking about an agency that has arrested 7,000 gang members and 1,400 suspected terrorists in the last year.
Exactly. Lyons testified that ICE conducted 379,000 arrests in the first year of this administration, and the response from the ruling class is to call them Nazis? Think about it.
And it's not just the rhetoric. Leaked documents are showing that teachers' unions, specifically the AFT, are training students on how to resist federal agents. They are literally turning classrooms into radicalization centers against law enforcement.
They hate you. They want your children to view the people protecting the border as the enemy. Lyons said this is the deadliest environment in the agency's history. Attacks on agents are surging.
And meanwhile, you have Operation Metro Surge going on in places like Minnesota, where we just mentioned the $9 billion in fraud, and the local politicians are fighting the feds every step of the way. Larry Krasner in Philly and Josh Sapro are actually sparring over these Nazi comparisons.
Shapiro's at least trying to sound sane, telling Krasner don't be a wimp, but the base of the party is fully on board with the abolish ICE narrative. They want a country without a border, without a police force, and without a working class that can afford a steak.
Because a working class that is safe and well-fed is a working class that can't be controlled. That's the reality. They want you dependent, they want you scared, and they want you quiet while they replace your vote with anyone who wanders across the Rio Grande.
It's a lot. It really is. We're looking at a government that can't fix its own sewage pipes, but can find the time to call its own border agents fascists.
Welcome to 2026. Well, common sense is a superpower.
It really is. All right, recap for everyone whose head is spinning. We've got the Epstein files opening up, D.C. literally drowning in its own waste, Iran building a strike-proof nuclear bunker, and a full-scale verbal war on the men and women of ICE.
Plus, your beef is going to cost you $10 a pound, and your daughter might have to wrestle a man.
What a world. But look, we're here. You're here. The neural right isn't going anywhere. We are the megaphone for the people who are tired of being lied to by the philosopher kings who can't even keep the Potomac clean.
Life is hard. Get a helmet. And maybe a pair of boots for that sewage.
Seriously. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. To all our new listeners from LinkedIn, we're glad you're here. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs a dose of reality, and we will be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Because they